The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with the low hum of 1,000 different species communicating through various methods. Translator devices worked overtime to convert clicking mandibles, harmonic tones, and pheromone releases into something resembling universal understanding. At the center of it all sat the High Arbiters, 12 beings from the most ancient and powerful civilizations in known space. Ambassador Zethkar of the hegemony leaned forward on his crystalline perch, his four arms gesturing dismissively at the holographic display, showing a small blue world spinning lazily in space. This is what concerns the Council? A primitive world barely past nuclear fission. The Vorthak representative, a being of pure energy contained within a shimmering field generator, pulsed with what might have been amusement. The humans have been observed for exactly 2,847 of their solar rotations. They have shown remarkable progress in some areas, but they remain isolated to their single world. Their largest vessels barely reach their immediate stellar neighbors. Ancient Keeper Morthal of the Eternal Archive floated in his life support chamber, his ancient voice crackling through the speakers. The archives contain warnings. Old warnings. From the time of the precursors. A wave of dismissive sounds rippled through the chamber. The precursors had vanished millions of years ago, leaving behind only scattered ruins and cryptic messages that most civilizations had long since dismissed as mythology. Respected Keeper, Ambassador Zethkar continued, his tone barely concealing his impatience. The precursor warnings speak of many things. They warned of stellar collapse, of dark matter storms, of reality tears. Most have proven to be overly cautious. Surely you don't suggest we take seriously every fragment of ancient text. Morthal's ancient eyes, clouded with age, but sharp with intelligence, fixed on the hologram of Earth. The warning is specific. It speaks of a young species, bipedal, carbon-based, dwelling on a world of mostly water. The warning says, do not provoke the makers of tools. Do not threaten the builders of dreams. Do not anger those who turn metal into hope, and hope into weapons. For when the children of the third rock cry out in fury, even the stars will tremble. The chamber erupted in various forms of laughter. The insectoid hive queen Vastha clicked her mandibles in amusement. Children of the third rock? Makers of tools? Keeper, with respect, every species makes tools. Every species builds. These humans are no different from countless others we have guided or managed over the millennia. Military Commander Brextar of the Iron Legion, his mechanical enhancements gleaming under the chamber's lights, accessed his tactical displays. The human military consists of primitive kinetic weapons, crude chemical explosives, and basic atomic devices. Their largest military vessels are confined to water. They have no shields, no energy weapons, no faster-than-light capability. A single hegemony dreadnought could pacify their entire world within one planetary rotation. Exactly my point, Zethkar agreed. We've been monitoring their transmissions. They fight amongst themselves constantly. They pollute their own world. They can't even achieve basic planetary unity. They're exactly the kind of species that requires guidance. The debate had been ongoing for months. Earth sat at a strategically valuable location, a perfect staging point for 3 different trade routes that would save the major powers significant time and resources. The humans were irrelevant to the equation, except that they happened to be in the way. Morthal tried once more. The archives show that the precursors were rarely wrong about species assessments. When they marked a species as dangerous, the precursors are extinct, interrupted Fleet Admiral Quindar of the Star Empire. Whatever wisdom they possessed died with them. We are the inheritors of this galaxy now, and we have responsibilities to maintain order and progress. These humans will benefit from our guidance. Their world will benefit from proper development. The vote was called. Of the 12 High Arbiters, 11 voted to proceed with Integration Protocol 7, a diplomatic term for forcible relocation of a primitive species to make way for advanced civilization needs. Only ancient keeper Morthal voted against the measure. As the council dispersed, Morthal remained in his chamber, staring at the slowly rotating image of Earth. He touched a control, and additional data appeared around the planet. Population, approximately 8 billion. Military forces, fragmented but numerous. Recent conflicts, ongoing in 17 regions. But it was the other data that worried him. The data the council had dismissed as irrelevant. In the past century alone, humans had gone from horse-drawn carriages to splitting atoms. They had gone from crude flying machines to landing on their moon. Their rate of technological advancement was unprecedented in galactic history. And there was something else in the archives, something he hadn't shared with the council. The precursor warning continued. They are slow to anger, but swift to act. They fight not just with weapons, but with will. They do not simply destroy. They refuse to be destroyed. And when they are pushed beyond their limits, they become something new, something dangerous, something that even we could not fully understand. 3 days later, the first contact ships arrived at Earth. Captain Marcus Chun stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance, humanity's newest and most advanced warship. At barely 2 years old, she was the pride of the combined Earth Navy, bristling with railguns, missile arrays, and the latest in human military technology. She was also, by galactic standards, laughably primitive. "Sir, we're getting massive energy readings from the edge of the system," reported Lieutenant Sarah Johnson from the sensor station. "Whatever's coming, it's big. Really big." Chen nodded grimly. They've been tracking strange signals for weeks. The scientific community was excited about the possibility of first contact. The military was preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. "How big are we talking?" "Sir," Johnson's voice cracked slightly. "The lead ship is approximately 15 kilometers long. Energy output equivalent to a small star. And, sir, there are 12 of them." The view screen flickered to life, showing the approaching fleet. Even at extreme range, the alien vessels were clearly visible, their hulls gleaming with unknown alloys and pulsing with power that made Earth's most advanced reactors look like candles. "Open a channel to Earth Command," Chun ordered. "Send everything we're seeing." Full data burst. Around Earth's system, other ships of the combined Earth Navy took up positions. The entire fleet consisted of 47 vessels, the largest being the Defiance at just under 2 kilometers. It was, everyone knew, a hopeless mismatch if this turned hostile. But humans had never been known for giving up easily. The alien fleet stopped just outside the orbit of Pluto and transmitted a message. It was in perfect English, translated by technology that analyzed Earth's communication networks in real time. "People of Earth, I am Ambassador Zethkar of the Galactic Hegemony. Your species has been selected for integration into galactic civilization. You will prepare for relocation to designated worlds where you will be provided with appropriate living spaces and work assignments. Resistance will be considered a violation of galactic law and will be met with appropriate force. You have 72 of your hours to prepare for orderly evacuation." The message was broadcast simultaneously to every government on Earth, every military command, and every communication network. On the bridge of the Defiance, the silence stretched for long moments. "Sir," Lieutenant Johnson asked quietly. "Orders." Captain Chun stared at the alien fleet on the view screen. Somewhere in his mind, he remembered his grandfather's stories about another time when humanity had been underestimated, when aggressors had assumed that technological superiority meant automatic victory. "Send a message back," he said finally. "Simple and clear." "What should it say, sir?" Chen's expression hardened. "Tell them no." The response from the alien fleet was swift. A demonstration of power, a precise energy beam that vaporized one of Earth's unmanned space stations in a flash of brilliant light. "People of Earth," Zethkar's voice came again. "That was a demonstration. We are prepared to be reasonable, but we will not tolerate defiance. Begin your preparations immediately." Around the globe, emergency sessions convened. the United Nations, NATO, the Warsaw Pact, SEATO, every military alliance, and governments scrambled to respond to the impossible situation. The debates were heated, desperate, and brief. The answer, when it came, was unanimous. President Elizabeth Warren spoke for the United Earth Government, hastily formed in the past 72 hours, to the representatives of the galactic hegemony. Humanity appreciates your offer of integration into galactic civilization. However, we must respectfully decline. Earth is our home. We will not be relocated. We invite you to establish diplomatic relations based on mutual respect and mutual benefit. Any attempt to forcibly remove us from our world will be met with resistance. On his flagship, Zethkar reviewed the human response with something approaching disbelief. They refuse? They see our power, and they still refuse? Commander Brextar's mechanical voice carried a note of satisfaction. As predicted, primitive species often respond with irrational defiance when faced with superior force. Shall I begin bombardment of their military assets? Not yet, Zethkar decided. Perhaps they need a more convincing demonstration. The alien fleet moved into Earth's outer system, and long-range sensors began mapping every satellite, every space station, every piece of human technology in orbit. The message was clear. We know where everything is, and we can destroy it all. But the humans didn't back down. Instead, they did something that surprised the watching galaxy. Every ship in the combined Earth Navy, from the massive Defiance down to patrol boats barely larger than shuttles, began moving toward the alien fleet. 47 ships against 12, where the smallest alien vessel outmassed the largest human one. "Sir," reported the tactical officer on Zethkar's flagship, "the humans are approaching in battle formation. Their weapons are powered and locked on our fleet." Zethkar felt a mixture of amusement and frustration. Do they truly believe their primitive weapons can harm our shields? Scans show their most powerful weapons are kinetic projectiles accelerated by magnetic fields, crude fusion warheads, and directed energy systems that barely qualify as military grade. Their combined firepower could not penetrate our weakest escort's shielding. Then, let them come, Zethkar decided. We'll disable their fleet without destroying it. Perhaps when they see their best efforts fail completely, they'll finally understand reason. But as the human fleet approached, something strange happened. More ships appeared on sensors. Not military vessels, but civilian craft hastily armed with whatever weapons could be mounted. Cargoholes getting improvised missile racks. Passenger ships with mining lasers jury-rigged for combat. Even small personal craft clustering around the larger vessels like angry wasps. "Sir," the tactical officer reported with growing confusion, "human civilian vessels are joining their military fleet. Total count is now 237 vessels and climbing." Civilians? Zethkar was genuinely puzzled. In civilized space, civilians fled from military conflicts, seeking safety. They didn't fly toward overwhelming enemy forces in unarmored cargo ships. "Sir, we're receiving multiple transmissions from the human fleet." "Put them through." The communications array crackled to life with dozens of voices. "This is Captain Sarah Martinez of the cargo hauler Lucky Strike. We're carrying 400 tons of metal projectiles and enough attitude to deliver them personally. Mining vessel Deep Digger here. These excavation lasers weren't designed for combat, but we're about to find out how they work on alien hulls. Private Yacht Wanderlust reporting for duty. We've got hunting rifles and bad attitudes. Come and take us." Zethkar cut off the transmission. "They're insane. Completely irrational. Should we proceed with the demonstration, Ambassador?" Zethkar hesitated. Something about this situation felt wrong. In all his experience with primitive species, they either surrendered immediately when faced with superior force, or their military fought while civilians evacuated. He had never seen an entire species voluntarily fly towards certain death. Ancient Keeper Morthol's warning echoed in his mind. Do not anger those who turn metal into hope, and hope into weapons. "Ambassador," Commander Brextar pressed. Zethkar made his decision. Open fire. Target their military vessels only. Disable, don't destroy. Perhaps when they see their best ships helpless, they'll see reason. The alien dreadnoughts' main weapon arrays swiveled toward the approaching human fleet, power building to levels that could crack continental plates. On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Chun watched the energy readings spike on his sensors. All ships, he broadcast on the open channel. This is it. Remember, we're not fighting to win. We're fighting so our children know that when the universe tried to push humanity around, we pushed back. All weapons fire at will. The first exchange of fire between humanity and the galaxy lit up the darkness of space. Alien energy beams, precisely controlled and overwhelmingly powerful, reached out to cripple the human fleet. But the humans had spread out, using the clutter of civilian vessels and debris to confuse targeting systems designed to fight conventional fleet battles. And humanity fired back. Railgun projectiles moving at significant fractions of light speed. Fusion warheads that turned space briefly as bright as stars. Particle beams that, while weak by galactic standards, were focused with desperate precision. The alien shields absorbed the human weapons easily, as expected. But something unexpected happened. The humans didn't stop firing. They didn't retreat when their weapons proved ineffective. Instead, they kept coming. Sir, the tactical officer reported, the humans are continuing their approach. They're firing everything they have, but they're not retreating despite taking heavy damage. How many ships have we disabled? 14 military vessels and 31 civilian craft. But, sir, the civilians aren't evacuating their damaged ships. They're transferring to other vessels and continuing the fight. Zethkar watched in growing amazement as human crew members, their ships venting atmosphere and dead in space, transferred to other vessels using primitive EVA suits. Instead of surrendering or evacuating, they were doubling up on the remaining ships and continuing to fight. This is tactically insane, Commander Brextar observed. They're taking massive casualties for no strategic gain. But Zethkar was beginning to understand that strategy wasn't the point. The humans weren't fighting to win a battle. They were fighting to make a statement. And that statement was becoming very clear. You will have to kill every single one of us. The battle continued for 6 hours. The alien fleet could have ended it in minutes with full bombardment, but Zethkar had ordered them to use minimum force. As a result, the humans kept fighting with a determination that began to unnerve the galactic forces. By the end of the 6th hour, the human fleet was effectively destroyed. But they had never surrendered. Even ships with no weapons left and minimal life support continued to ram alien vessels, their crews choosing death over submission. Status report, Zethkar demanded. Human military capacity eliminated. However, the tactical officer paused. Sir, we're detecting massive mobilization across their planet. They're converting industrial facilities to weapons production. Every nation is cooperating. They're building more ships. How is that possible? We've been monitoring them for less than a planetary rotation. They're not building to our standards, sir. They're building crude, fast, and in massive numbers. Current projections suggest they could field 1,000 vessels within 30 rotations. Zethkar felt a chill despite his species' natural temperature control. The humans had lost their entire space fleet, and instead of surrendering, they were building a bigger one. Perhaps, suggested Commander Brextar, it's time for a more decisive demonstration. But even as he said it, Zethkar was beginning to suspect that no demonstration would be decisive enough. The humans had seen the alien fleet destroy their best ships with ease, and their response was to build more ships and prepare to fight again. For the first time in his diplomatic career, Ambassador Zethkar wondered if the Galactic Council might have made a mistake. A very dangerous mistake. 6 weeks after the first battle, Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in what had been the Large Hadron Collider facility in Switzerland. The massive particle accelerator had been hastily converted into something else entirely, a weapons research laboratory that would have made science fiction writers proud and physicists terrified. "Show me what you've got," she said to the assembled team of researchers, engineers, and military specialists from 17 different nations. Dr. James Park, formerly of MIT's Theoretical Physics Department, gestured to a holographic display showing a complex molecular structure. "We've been analyzing the debris from the alien ships. Their hull material is incredibly advanced, molecular bonding that we're at least 500 years away from replicating. But we found something interesting," continued Dr. Yuki Tanaka from Tokyo University. "Their technology relies heavily on controlled exotic matter interactions. It's brilliant, but it has a weakness." General Patricia Hayes, Earth's new unified military commander, leaned forward. "What kind of weakness?" "The exotic matter particles they use become unstable when exposed to specific quantum field fluctuations," Dr. Park explained. "We can't create their technology, but we might be able to disrupt it." Dr. Vasquez nodded grimly. She'd been expecting something like this. Humanity's greatest advantage had always been adaptability, the ability to find solutions that more advanced civilizations had never considered necessary. "What do you need?" "Time," Dr. Tanaka replied. "And resources. We're talking about rebuilding half our industrial base around theoretical physics principles that we barely understand." "You have whatever you need," General Hayes assured them. "The entire planet is mobilizing." It was true. In the weeks since the first battle, humanity had achieved something that philosophers and politicians had said was impossible: complete global unity. Every nation had contributed resources, knowledge, and personnel to the war effort. Ancient enemies worked side by side in laboratories and shipyards. The human response to external threat was unlike anything the galaxy had ever recorded. Meanwhile, in orbit around Earth, the alien fleet maintained its position. Ambassador Zethkar had received increasingly urgent communications from the Galactic Council demanding an explanation for the delay. "Ambassador," Fleet Admiral Quindar's image flickered on the communication screen. "It has been 42 standard cycles since Integration Protocol 7 was initiated. The Council is growing impatient. Why has this primitive world not been secured?" Zethkar chose his words carefully. "The humans have proven more resistant than anticipated. Their response to our initial demonstration was unexpected." "Resistant." The Star Empire leader's voice carried dangerous undertones. "Ambassador, you have 12 of our most advanced vessels. Are you telling the Council that you cannot handle a single primitive world?" "The situation is complex. The humans refuse to acknowledge our superiority despite clear demonstrations of our power. They continue to build military assets and show no signs of surrender. Then destroy their military assets again. We have, Admiral, 3 times. They keep building more." A pause. "That's impossible." "I thought so too," Zethkar admitted. "But their industrial capacity is remarkable. They've converted their entire civilization to war production in less than 50 cycles. They're producing vessels at a rate that—" He hesitated. "That exceeds our own ship construction capabilities." The silence on the communication channel stretched uncomfortably long. "Ambassador," Admiral Quindar's voice was deadly quiet. "Are you telling me that a primitive species without faster-than-light travel is outbuilding the Star Empire?" "Their ships are crude and inferior," Zethkar said quickly. "Single-use vessels, barely armored with primitive weapons. But they're building them by the thousands." Another pause. How many thousands?" "Current intelligence suggests approximately 15,000 vessels in various stages of construction." The communication ended abruptly. Deep in the converted CERN facility, humanity's best minds worked around the clock. But the quantum disruption technology was only part of the solution. The other part was being developed in facilities across the globe. At the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, engineer Maria Santos supervised the launch of humanity's newest weapon, mass production. The rocket lifting off carried not a satellite or space probe, but the first of thousands of small, automated manufacturing platforms. Deployment successful, reported her assistant. Factory Pod Alpha is online and beginning mineral extraction from asteroid 2087. The strategy was brutally simple. Humanity couldn't match alien technology, but they could overwhelm it with numbers. Automated factories were being launched to every asteroid, moon, and planetoid in the solar system. Each one would produce simple, effective weapons platforms using local materials. The aliens had 12 ships. Humanity was preparing to field 100,000. In the Beijing industrial complex, Admiral Chun Wei, no relation to the late Captain Chun, watched as the latest batch of warships rolled off the production line. They were ugly, functional craft, little more than engines, weapons, and life support bolted together. Each one would be destroyed in seconds by an alien energy beam. But there would be so many of them that the aliens couldn't destroy them all. Admiral, his aide reported, the new pilots have completed their training. Chenwei nodded. The pilot training program was perhaps the most remarkable aspect of humanity's war mobilization. With a survival rate measured in minutes, they needed thousands of new pilots every week. The volunteers never stopped coming. Every one of them knew they were flying to their death. They volunteered anyway. How many pilots graduated this week? 12,000, sir, from all participating nations. And how many more are in training? 73,000, with more enrolling daily. Chun Wei had served in the Chinese Navy for 30 years. He had never seen anything like the response to this crisis. Civilians were volunteering for suicide missions. Engineers were working themselves to death in the factories. Scientists were achieving breakthroughs in months that should have taken decades. And it still might not be enough. On the alien flagship, Tactical Officer Vexlon reviewed the latest intelligence reports with growing alarm. Ambassador, the human industrial output has exceeded all projections. They're producing approximately 2,000 new vessels per planetary rotation. How is that possible? Comment Brextar demanded. No civilization can sustain that level of production. They've converted everything, Vexlon replied. Civilian factories, research facilities, even entertainment complexes. Their entire species is working on war production. They've also deployed automated manufacturing platforms throughout their system. Current projections suggest they could field over 50,000 vessels within 100 rotations. Zethkar felt his confidence crumbling. What about quality? Surely their weapons haven't improved. Actually, sir, that's where the real problem lies. Vexlon brought up a new display. Our engineering teams have been analyzing the debris from our recent engagements. The humans are adapting their technology with each battle. Their latest vessels show significant improvements in shielding and weapons effectiveness. Impossible. They don't have the scientific foundation for rapid advancement. No, sir, they don't. But they're not advancing through research and development. They're advancing through what their military calls battlefield innovation. They observe what works, what doesn't work, and they modify their designs immediately. Their production lines can be retooled within a single planetary rotation. Commander Brextar's mechanical systems whirred as he processed this information. You're saying they're using combat as their research and development phase. Exactly. They're treating each battle as a test, learning from every engagement, and applying those lessons to their next wave of ships. Zethkar realized with growing horror that humanity was using a strategy no civilized species had ever employed. They were deliberately sacrificing lives and resources to gain knowledge, treating their own casualties as acceptable costs for incremental improvements. It was barbaric, it was savage, and it was working. 3 months after the first battle, humanity launched what they called Operation Endless Tide. 57,000 vessels, ranging from kilometer-long battleships to single-pilot fighters, emerged from hidden bases throughout the solar system and converged on the alien fleet. The aliens responded with overwhelming firepower, their energy weapons cutting through human ships like lasers through paper. In the first hour of battle, they destroyed over 8,000 human vessels. But the humans kept coming. Sir, reported Vexlon, his voice tight with strain. Our energy reserves are at 60% and falling. The humans are attacking in waves, and we're having to maintain continuous fire to keep them back. How many ships are left? Approximately 43,000, sir. Zethkar stared at the tactical display in disbelief. They destroyed more ships than most civilizations possessed in total, and the humans still outnumbered them by thousands to one. And our own status? 3 ships have taken minor damage from lucky hits. Shields are holding at 85%. But, sir, if they keep coming at this rate, we'll exhaust our energy reserves in approximately 14 hours. For the first time since arriving at Earth, Zethkar felt genuine fear. The humans couldn't win this battle. Their weapons were too weak, their ships too fragile. But they could force the alien fleet to exhaust its power supplies, leaving them vulnerable. Sir, Commander Brextar interrupted, I'm receiving a communication from the human fleet. Put it through. The voice that came through the speakers was calm, professional, and absolutely terrifying in its certainty. This is Admiral Sarachon of the Combined Earth Navy. To the commanders of the alien fleet, you are burning through your energy reserves at an unsustainable rate. You have destroyed thousands of our ships, but we have thousands more. You cannot maintain this rate of fire indefinitely. We can maintain this rate of attack indefinitely. Surrender now, and we'll guarantee safe passage out of our system. Continue this battle, and we'll drag you down through sheer attrition. Zethkar cut the transmission. Tactical assessment. The human is correct, Vexlon admitted. At current consumption rates, we'll be forced to reduce firing intensity within 10 hours or risk complete energy depletion. And, sir, our sensors are detecting more human vessels launching from their planet. They're continuing to reinforce even while we're destroying them. How many more? Approximately 15,000 new vessels have launched in the past hour. The alien commander felt the universe shifting around him. Everything he'd been taught about warfare, about civilization, about rational behavior was proving wrong. The humans were fighting a war of pure attrition, willingly sacrificing enormous casualties for marginal gains. And it was working. Ambassador, Commander Brextar said quietly, I recommend we retreat to the outer system and request reinforcements. Reinforcements? Zethkar's voice cracked. We have 12 of the most powerful ships in the galaxy. What reinforcements could possibly, sir? Vexlon interrupted. I'm detecting massive energy buildup from the human vessels. They're preparing some kind of coordinated attack. The tactical display lit up with new data. Throughout the human fleet, every ship was powering up their weapons simultaneously. It wasn't their usual pattern of continuous assault. They were preparing something bigger. What are they doing? Unknown, sir. But whatever it is, it's going to hit us with a combined firepower of 43,000 vessels. Zethkar realized that humanity was about to teach the galaxy another lesson. Sometimes quantity has a quality all its own. All ships, he commanded, maximum defensive power. Prepare for. The human fleet fired as one. 43,000 ships released everything they had in a single, coordinated volley. Fusion warheads, kinetic projectiles, particle beams, and electromagnetic pulses all reached the alien fleet simultaneously. The combined assault was still insufficient to penetrate alien shielding, but for the first time since the war began, alien shield generators strained under the assault. Shields down to 78%, Vexlon reported. Damage. Minimal. But, sir, they're charging for another volley. Zethkar watched 43,000 ships prepare to fire again, knowing that there were 15,000 more coming behind them, and countless thousands more being built on the planet below. For the first time in his life, he understood what the word hopeless meant from the other side. Open a channel to the Galactic Council, he ordered. Sir, we need help. All the help we can get. But, even as he gave the order, Zethkar suspected it might already be too late. The humans had shown something that no civilized species possessed, the willingness to sacrifice everything for victory. They didn't just fight with weapons. They fought with their entire civilization. And that, he was beginning to realize, made them the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever encountered. Ancient Keeper Morthal received the emergency transmission from Ambassador Zethkar with a mixture of sorrow and grim satisfaction. He had warned them. The precursor archives had been clear, but the Council had chosen to ignore wisdom that spanned millions of years. Keeper, Zethkar's voice carried across the void, distorted by the massive distance and the primitive communication array he was using. The situation has become untenable. The humans, they're not fighting like any species we've encountered. They're treating this war as if their entire civilization depends on it. Because it does, Morthal replied quietly. You told them to abandon their homeworld. For humans, that is extinction. Not physical death, but something worse, the death of everything they are. I need reinforcements. The Council must send additional fleets. Morthal's ancient eyes studied the data streaming from his soul system. The numbers were staggering. In 6 months of warfare, the humans had built and fielded over 300,000 vessels. Their industrial capacity had grown exponentially as they converted civilian infrastructure to military production. More disturbing was the technological progression. Each generation of human ships was noticeably more advanced than the last. They were learning, adapting, evolving their technology at a rate that defied conventional understanding. The Council is already debating response options, Morthal told the ambassador. But you should understand, what you're asking for will change everything. What do you mean? You're asking the galaxy's major powers to commit significant military assets to subdue a single primitive world. If they agree, it will be because they recognize humanity as a genuine threat. That recognition will have consequences none of US can predict. The transmission ended, leaving Morthal alone with his thoughts and the ancient warnings that nobody had wanted to hear. On Earth, humanity was indeed mobilizing as if their civilization depended on it. In the underground laboratories beneath Geneva, Dr. Elena Vasquez made a breakthrough that would change the course of the war. It works, she announced to the assembled team of exhausted scientists. The quantum disruption field generator hummed with barely contained energy, its exotic matter core pulsing with alien principles that humanity was only beginning to understand. Show me, General Hayes ordered. Dr. Park activated a holographic display showing the test results. We bombarded a sample of alien hull material with quantum disruption pulses. The molecular bonds destabilized completely. The material essentially dissolved. And you can weaponize this? We already have, Dr. Tanaka said, gesturing to a sleek device that looked like a torpedo crossed with a particle accelerator. Quantum disruption torpedo. One shot should be enough to destabilize the hull integrity of an alien ship. General Hayes studied the weapon with professional interest. Production timeline? That's the problem, Dr. Vasquez admitted. Each torpedo requires approximately 6 months to manufacture. The exotic matter synthesis process is incredibly complex, and we're limited by the amount of alien material we've captured. How many can you produce? With current resources, maybe 50 torpedoes within a year. The general nodded grimly. 50 weapons against a growing alien fleet. It wasn't much, but it was hope. Begin production immediately. And, Doctor, start working on scaling up the process. We're going to need a lot more than 50. In space, the war continued. Admiral Sarah Chun commanded the latest wave of human ships from the bridge of the newly commissioned dreadnought Indomitable. At 5 kilometers long and bristling with every weapon humanity could devise, she was the most powerful ship humans had ever built. She was also still inferior to the smallest alien escort vessel. Admiral, her tactical officer reported, the aliens are maintaining defensive positions around Jupiter. They've established some kind of energy collection array. Chin studied the tactical display with experienced eyes. In 8 months of warfare, she'd learned to read alien tactical patterns. They were consolidating, preparing for something. Analysis? Best guess? They're using Jupiter's magnetic field to recharge their power systems. Intelligence suggests they've been rationing energy since our attrition campaigns began. It was true. Humanity's strategy of overwhelming numbers was working. The aliens could destroy human ships with ease, but they couldn't destroy them fast enough to keep up with human production while maintaining their energy reserves. How many ships do we have in system now? Approximately 430,000, Admiral, with another 100,000 launching from Earth this week. Even after months of these numbers, Chun felt a sense of pride. Humanity had transformed their entire civilization into a war machine. Every nation, every resource, every citizen was contributing to the fight. "Signal the fleet," she ordered. "Begin Operation Prometheus." Operation Prometheus was humanity's most ambitious plan yet. Instead of attacking the alien fleet directly, they were going to cut off their power source. 400,000 ships would converge on Jupiter simultaneously, overwhelming the alien defenses through sheer numbers and destroying their recharge facility. The attack began at 0800 Earth Standard Time. The alien response was immediate and devastating. Energy beams swept through human formations like scythes through wheat. In the first 10 minutes, over 50,000 human vessels were destroyed, but the remaining 350,000 kept coming. "Sir," Tactical Officer Vexlon reported from the alien flagship, his voice tight with stress, "the humans are ignoring our fire and proceeding directly to the Jupiter array. At current approach vectors, they'll reach our defensive perimeter in 14 minutes. Ambassador Zethkar watched the tactical display with growing alarm. The human attack was suicidal. They were flying directly into concentrated alien firepower without any apparent strategy beyond reaching their target. "How many ships are we destroying?" "Approximately 4,000 per minute, sir." But they keep coming." "Yes, sir." "And, sir, our energy reserves are at 45%. If we maintain this rate of fire, we'll be forced to shut down the Jupiter array to conserve power for our main systems." Zethkar realized the trap humanity had laid for them. The humans didn't care about casualties. They cared about forcing the aliens to make impossible choices, maintain their recharge facility and risk energy depletion, or abandon it and lose their strategic advantage. "Sir," Commander Brextar interrupted, "I'm receiving a communication from the human fleet." "Not now, Commander." "Sir, I think you should hear this." Admiral Chen's voice came through the communication array with the calm professionalism that had become humanity's signature. "Ambassador Zethkar, this is Admiral Sarah Chen. We're going to destroy your power station. You can try to stop us, but we have more ships than you have energy to destroy them. You can retreat and preserve your fleet, but you'll lose your strategic advantage. Or you can stand and fight and lose everything when your power runs out. Your choice." Zethkar cut the transmission. "Status of the Jupiter array. The humans will reach effective weapons range in 8 minutes, sir. And our energy reserves? 39% and falling rapidly." The alien commander faced the same impossible choice humanity had been presenting throughout the war: accept defeat or risk total destruction. The humans had turned warfare into a mathematical equation, and the math was not in the aliens' favor. "All ships," he ordered reluctantly, "abandon the Jupiter array. Retreat to the outer system." The alien fleet began withdrawing from Jupiter orbit, leaving behind their sophisticated recharge facility. The moment they moved, human ships swarmed over the abandoned equipment like locusts. "Sir," Vexlon reported, they're not destroying the array." "What?" "They're studying it, sir. Taking it apart piece by piece. They're reverse engineering our technology." Zethkar felt cold fear settle in his chest. Bad enough that humanity could overwhelm alien forces through numbers. But if they started incorporating alien technology into their ships, how long until Galactic Council reinforcement arrive? 3 standard cycles, sir. Then we retreat to the edge of the system and wait. But even as the alien fleet withdrew, Zethkar knew that 3 cycles might be too long. Every day, humanity grew stronger, built more ships, learn more about alien technology. By the time reinforcements arrived, the situation might be beyond salvage. On Earth, the successful capture of the alien power array sent waves of celebration across the planet. For the first time since the war began, humanity had won a clear victory. In the converted research facilities, teams of engineers and scientists worked frantically to understand the capture technology. The alien power systems were centuries beyond human science, but the principles were becoming clear. It's a matter-energy conversion matrix, Dr. Park explained to the assembled team. They're converting ordinary matter directly into usable energy at nearly 90% efficiency. Can we replicate it? Not exactly, but we can adapt it. If we modify our reactor designs to incorporate these principles, we could increase our energy output by a factor of 10. General Hayes smiled for the first time in months. How long? 6 months to retrofit our major industrial complexes. But the implications go beyond manufacturing. If we can adapt this technology to our ships, we could build vessels that match alien power levels. Better than that, Dr. Vasquez added. We could build vessels that exceed alien power levels. They're using this technology conservatively within established safety parameters. We're not bound by their limitations. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from Admiral Chun. General, we've got a problem. Long-range sensors are detecting massive energy signatures approaching from outside the system. Something big is coming. The Galactic Council had made its decision. If 12 ships couldn't handle humanity, they would send 120. The reinforcement fleet that emerged from hyperspace dwarfed anything seen in the Sol system before. 120 vessels representing 7 different galactic powers, including ship classes that most species only saw in museums. Leading the fleet was Fleet Admiral Quindar himself, commanding from the Star Empire's greatest warship, the Eternal Dominion, a battle station the size of a small moon. Ambassador Zethkar. Admiral Quindar's transmission reached the battered diplomatic fleet. Report. Admiral, the situation is complex. The humans have proven more resilient than anticipated. I can see that. Quindar studied the tactical displays showing hundreds of thousands of human ships throughout the system. How many vessels are we facing? Current estimates suggest approximately 600,000 active vessels, with production continuing at a rate of 600,000? The Admiral's voice carried disbelief. A primitive species has built 600,000 ships in less than one cycle. Yes, sir. And, Admiral, they've captured some of our technology. Their latest ships show significant improvements in capability. Through the communication array, Quindar could hear other fleet commanders expressing shock and disbelief. The concept of a primitive species outbuilding the combined galactic powers was beyond their experience. No matter, the Admiral finally declared. This ends now. The Council has authorized full suppression protocols. We will destroy their industrial capacity completely and force immediate surrender. Admiral Zethkar said carefully, the humans have shown remarkable resistance to suppression tactics. They may not surrender even under extreme pressure. Then they will be extinct, and the galaxy will be safer for it. The massive fleet began moving toward Earth, weapons charging and shields at maximum power. This time, there would be no demonstration, no warning, no attempt at diplomacy. The galaxy's patience with humanity had ended. On Earth, the approaching fleet was detected immediately. Emergency sessions convened in every major capital. The numbers were overwhelming. Humanity faced a fleet that outmassed their entire navy by a factor of 10. But the response was the same as it had been from the beginning. Launch everything, General Hayes ordered. Every ship humanity had built, from the newest dreadnoughts to converted civilian vessels, began moving toward the approaching alien fleet. 600,000 vessels against 120, but this time the aliens weren't holding back. As the two fleets approached each other, Dr. Vasquez worked frantically in her laboratory. The quantum disruption torpedoes were ready, all 50 of them. It wasn't much against a fleet of that size, but they were humanity's best hope of inflicting real damage. Doctor, her assistant reported, the fleet commanders are requesting immediate deployment of the quantum weapons. Not yet, she replied, studying the tactical displays. We get one chance at this. We have to wait for the perfect moment. In space, the largest battle in galactic history was about to begin. And, for the first time since the war started, both sides knew that only one species would survive it. The ancient warning echoed through Morthal's mind as he watched the fleets converge. When the children of the third rock cry out in fury, even the stars will tremble. He was beginning to understand what the precursors had meant. The battle began at 1347 Earth Standard Time on a Tuesday that would be remembered as the day two different philosophies of warfare met in the darkness between worlds. Fleet Admiral Quindar opened the engagement from the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, the massive battle station's primary weapons array unleashing destruction that could crack planets. The alien fleet fired in perfect coordination, their advanced targeting systems selecting priority targets among the approaching human swarm. In the first minute of battle, 12,000 human ships died. Admiral Sarah Chun watched the carnage from the bridge of the Indomitable, her face set in grim determination as ship after ship vanished in bursts of alien fire. The mathematics were brutal. At this rate of loss, the human fleet would be destroyed in less than 2 hours. Admiral, her tactical officer reported, we're losing ships faster than our models predicted. The new alien vessels are significantly more powerful than the first wave. How much faster? At current loss rates, we have 96 minutes before fleet cohesion breaks down. Chen nodded. They'd known this would happen. The question was whether humanity could inflict enough damage in 96 minutes to matter. Signal all ships, she ordered. Implement Protocol Omega. Throughout the human fleet, ships began breaking from their formation patterns. Instead of maintaining organized battle lines, they scattered into thousands of individual attack vectors, making it impossible for the aliens to predict targeting patterns. It was chaos. Deliberate, calculated chaos. What were they doing? Fleet Admiral Quindar demanded, watching the human fleet dissolve into apparent disorder. Unknown, sir, his tactical coordinator replied. They've abandoned all military formation. It appears to be random movement. Impossible. No species fights with random movement. But the tactical displays told a different story. Instead of organized formations that could be efficiently targeted, the alien fleet now faced 600,000 individual threats coming from every conceivable angle. Their sophisticated targeting computers, designed to predict logical military maneuvers, struggled to track the seemingly chaotic human assault. Sir, the tactical coordinator continued, their apparent randomness is actually reducing our firing efficiency by 37%. Our targeting systems keep losing lock. Quindar felt his first moment of doubt. Compensate. Increase firing rate to maximum. Sir, that will drain our energy reserves much faster than planned. Do it anyway. The alien fleet's rate of fire doubled, filling space with enough energy to power star systems. Human ships died by the thousands, but the survivors kept coming, their random movement patterns making each shot harder than the last. Deep in the Sol system, Dr. Elena Vasquez monitored the battle from her laboratory. Her 50 quantum disruption torpedoes were loaded on especially modified ships, hidden among the chaos of the human fleet. Everything depended on timing. Doctor, her assistant reported, the alien fleet has increased their firing rate. They're burning through energy reserves faster than anticipated. How much faster? At current consumption, they'll need to reduce power within 40 minutes to maintain combat effectiveness. Vasquez studied the tactical displays. 40 minutes. The human fleet would be mostly destroyed by then, but it might be enough. Prepare the quantum weapons, she ordered. We deploy in 35 minutes. On the Eternal Dominion, Fleet Admiral Quindar watches fleet tear through human ships with systematic efficiency. But something nagged at him. Despite massive losses, human morale hadn't broken. Their ships continued attacking with the same determination they'd shown at the beginning of the battle. Casualty reports, he requested. Human losses, 214,000 vessels destroyed. Our losses, minimal damage to outer hulls on 7 ships. Then, why don't they surrender? It was a question that revealed the fundamental gap between galactic and human military thinking. In civilized warfare, massive casualties led to surrender negotiations. The losing side preserved what forces they could and sought acceptable terms. Humanity wasn't fighting a civilized war. Sir, the communications officer interrupted. We're receiving a transmission from the human fleet. From Admiral Chun? No, sir. It appears to be from their planetary command. General Hayes' voice filled the bridge of the alien flagship. Fleet Admiral Quindar, this is General Patricia Hayes of the United Earth Defense Force. I want you to understand something about the species you're fighting. We know we're losing this battle. We know most of our people are going to die today. But dying has never stopped us before. Every ship you destroy is crewed by volunteers who knew they wouldn't be coming home. Every pilot flying toward your fleet chose to be there. You're not fighting our military, Admiral. You're fighting our entire civilization. And we don't know how to quit. Quindar, cut the transmission. How much longer can we maintain maximum firepower? 32 minutes, sir. And how many human ships will remain by then? Approximately 300,000, sir. The Admiral felt cold realization settle over him. Even after suffering losses that should have ended the war, humanity would still field a fleet larger than the one that had started this battle. They were literally throwing their civilization at the alien fleet one ship at a time, and they had enough ships to outlast alien energy reserves. Sir, the tactical coordinator reported urgently. We're detecting something new. 50 human vessels have broken from the main fleet and are approaching on a different vector. 50 ships? Ignore them. Continue firing on the main force. Sir, these ships are different. They're radiating energy signatures we haven't seen before. Quindar looked at the tactical display, focusing on the 50 ships moving toward his fleet. They were larger than typical human vessels, but only 50 ships against 120 barely registered as a threat. He was about to learn the difference between quantity and quality. Dr. Vasquez watched from her command center as her carefully planned surprise approached the alien fleet. The 50 ships carrying quantum disruption torpedoes had waited through the entire battle for this moment, when alien shields would be under maximum stress from continuous combat. All ships, she transmitted on the quantum weapons frequency, you are authorized to fire at will. 50 quantum disruption torpedoes launched simultaneously, their exotic matter warheads designed specifically to destabilize alien technology. They streaked toward the alien fleet, invisible to conventional sensors, and unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The first torpedo struck the Star Empire cruiser Infinite Glory. For a fraction of a second, nothing seemed to happen. Then, the cruiser's molecular bonds began unraveling. The massive vessel, kilometers of advanced technology, and thousands of years of engineering knowledge simply dissolved. Report, Quindar shouted as his flagship shuddered from proximity effects. Sir, the Infinite Glory is gone. Gone? Destroyed? No, sir. Gone. It just ceased to exist. Before anyone could process this information, more torpedoes found their targets. The hegemony dreadnought Pride of Zethkar became a cloud of dissociated atoms. The Vorthack energy ship Eternal Light flickered out of existence like a snuff candle. What's happening to our ships? Quindar demanded. Unknown, sir. Some kind of molecular disruption weapon. Whatever technology they're using, it's completely destabilizing our hull integrity at the quantum level. In 5 minutes, humanity's 50 quantum torpedoes eliminated 37 alien vessels, including some of the most powerful ships in the galactic fleet. The remaining alien commanders found themselves facing a truth that shattered everything they thought they knew about warfare. A primitive species had developed weapons that could destroy their most advanced technology. Sir, the tactical coordinator said in a voice tight with fear, the humans are launching more of those weapons. How many more? Unknown. But, sir, our shields offer no protection against whatever they're using. For the first time in his military career, Fleet Admiral Quindar faced the possibility of defeat. Not tactical defeat, but the complete destruction of his fleet by a species the galaxy had dismissed as primitive. All ships, he commanded, retreat to maximum range. Establish defensive perimeter. Sir, what about the integration protocol? Quindar stared at the tactical display, showing the remaining human fleet. Still over 300,000 ships strong, now armed with weapons that could dissolve galactic technology like acid through metal. The integration protocol is suspended, he said quietly. But retreat wasn't as simple as the Admiral hoped. The human fleet, sensing alien uncertainty for the first time, pressed their advantage. Ships that had been dying by the thousands suddenly became aggressive, closing distance with suicidal determination. Admiral Chun led the charge from the Indomitable, her ship's jury-rigged quantum weapons powering up for another volley. All ships close to attack range. Don't let them reorganize. The battle shifted from organized alien supremacy to desperate fighting at point-blank range. Human ships, no longer trying to survive, but simply trying to inflict damage, rammed alien vessels with explosive results. Even when human weapons couldn't penetrate alien armor, human ships could still cause damage through kinetic impact. Sir, reported the communications officer on the Eternal Dominion, we're receiving priority communications from the Galactic Council. Tell them we're busy, Quindar snapped, watching another of his ships dissolve under quantum weapons fire. Sir, it's Ancient Keeper Morthal. He says it's urgent. Quindar accepted the transmission, Morthal's ancient voice filling the bridge despite the chaos of battle around them. Admiral, the Keeper said, you must cease hostilities immediately. We're in the middle of a battle, Keeper. The humans have weapons that can destroy our ships. That's exactly why you must stop. Admiral, you've awakened something that should have remained dormant. The humans aren't just fighting you, they're evolving. Each battle makes them stronger, more dangerous, more capable. If this continues, they'll become a threat to the entire galaxy. Then, we destroy them now, before they become stronger. You can't destroy them, Morthal said with absolute certainty. That's what the precursor warning meant. This species doesn't just fight, they become more than they were. They turn every defeat into a lesson, every loss into motivation, every attack into an opportunity for growth. The longer you fight them, the more dangerous they become. What are you suggesting? Retreat. Completely. Leave their system and never return. The Council will never accept. The Council doesn't understand what they're facing. But I do. Admiral, the humans have gone from primitive spaceflight to quantum disruption weapons in less than one cycle of warfare. What do you think they'll develop if you give them another cycle? The transmission ended, leaving Quindar alone with a terrible choice. He could continue fighting and risk the complete destruction of his fleet, or he could retreat and admit that a primitive species had defeated the combined might of galactic civilization. As another alien ship dissolved under human weapons fire, he realized he didn't really have a choice at all. All ships, he commanded, prepare for emergency hyperspace jump. We're leaving. Sir, what about the mission? Fleet Admiral Quindar watched the tactical display one last time. 300,000 human ships, still fighting despite impossible odds, their crews refusing to surrender even when facing certain death. The mission, he said quietly, has become impossible. The alien fleet began charging their hyperdrive systems, preparing to abandon the Sol system entirely. As they did, humanity achieved something no species in galactic history had ever accomplished. They had forced the galaxy's greatest powers to retreat through sheer determination and adaptability. But the war was far from over. As the aliens prepared to flee, Dr. Vasquez was already working on her next breakthrough. The captured alien technology was yielding secrets that would transform humanity's understanding of physics, engineering, and warfare itself. The galaxy had tried to relocate humanity and failed. Now they faced a more terrifying prospect. What would humanity do next? 1 year after the Great Retreat, as historians would later call it, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session for the third time in 6 months. The chamber that had once buzzed with confident discussions about managing primitive species now echoed with fearful whispers about the human problem. Ancient Keeper Morthul floated in his life support chamber, watching the assembled representatives with eyes that had seen the rise and fall of civilizations. Today, those eyes held a weariness that spoke of terrible vindication. The situation reports, announced High Arbiter Veltar, his usual composure cracked with strain, are unprecedented. The holographic displays showed the Sol system as it existed now, barely recognizable from the primitive solar system the Council had dismissed a year ago. Where once a few dozen crude human spacecraft had struggled to reach their own moon, now thousands of advanced vessels patrol the outer system. Intelligence Report 77 Alpha, continued the Arbiter, shows human technological advancement that exceeds our most aggressive projections. They have achieved faster-than-light travel. They have deployed energy shields comparable to our own. Their weapons technology has advanced beyond our current understanding. Ambassador Zethkar, who had survived the initial contact disaster, stood to address the Council. His once proud bearing was now marked by haunted exhaustion. The humans have not been content to simply defend their system, he reported. 3 months ago, they began expanding. Their ships have been detected in 17 systems previously claimed by various council members. Expanding how? Demanded Fleet Admiral Quindar, his military bearing intact despite the defeat he'd suffered. Colonization fleets, Zethkar replied. But not like any colonization we've seen. They're not terraforming worlds or establishing traditional settlements. They're building something else. The display shifted to show the Proxima Centauri system, where human activity had been most concentrated. The star system was barely recognizable. Massive structures orbited every significant body. Not space stations or habitats, but something far more complex. Industrial complexes, explained Intelligence Coordinator Vexlon, his voice tight with implications. The humans have constructed automated manufacturing facilities around every planet, moon, and asteroid in the system. Current estimates suggest production capacity equivalent to the combined industrial output of 50 major civilizations. The chamber fell silent except for the background hum of life support systems. The numbers were incomprehensible. A species that had been confined to a single world was now outproducing half the galaxy. What are they building? Asked the Vorthak representative. Everything, Vexlon replied grimly. Ships, weapons, technology we don't recognize, and he paused, accessing additional data. Defensive installations unlike anything in our experience. Each system they enter becomes a fortress that would require massive fleets to assault. How many systems have they claimed? 17 confirmed. But our intelligence suggests they're surveying hundreds more. High Arbiter Veltar felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on him. The Council had created this situation through their arrogance, and now faced consequences beyond their worst projections. Keeper Morthul, he said formally, the Council requests your wisdom. The ancient being stirred in his chamber, his voice carrying the sadness of ages. You want to know how to stop them? Yes. You can't. The simple statement sent ripples of fear through the assembled representatives. Civilizations that had ruled the galaxy for millennia suddenly found themselves contemplating their own obsolescence. Explain, Admiral Quindar demanded. Morthul's display showed historical data spanning millions of years. The precursors left detailed records of species development patterns. Most civilizations follow predictable paths, gradual advancement, plateau periods, eventual stagnation. The humans are following a different pattern entirely. What kind of pattern? Exponential adaptation. Every challenge makes them stronger. Every defeat teaches them new lessons. Every enemy they face contributes to their advancement. They don't just overcome obstacles, they absorb them and become something new. The display showed human technological progression over the past year. The curve was nearly vertical, rising beyond mathematical projections. Look at their development timeline. Morthal continued. In 1 year, they've advanced from primitive spaceflight to faster-than-light travel. Their weapons have evolved from chemical explosives to quantum disruption technology. Their understanding of physics has jumped centuries in months. How was that possible? Because they approach knowledge differently than we do. Civilized species advance through research, development, and careful testing. Humans advance through what their military calls combat engineering. They test ideas under battlefield conditions, learn from immediate results, and implement improvements instantly. Ambassador Zethkar leaned forward. You're saying they use warfare as a research method? More than that, Morthal replied. They use everything as a research method. They've turned their entire civilization into an experimental laboratory. Every human is both researcher and test subject. They'll try anything that might work, accept massive failures as learning experiences, and apply successful innovations across their entire species within cycles. The implications were staggering. While galactic civilizations advanced through committee decisions and safety protocols, humanity was advancing through civilization-wide experimentation. The precursor records contain one other detail. Morthal added quietly. When this pattern appears in a species, it doesn't stop. It accelerates until the species either destroys itself or becomes something unprecedented. And if humanity doesn't destroy itself, then they become the dominant force in whatever region of space they occupy, not through conquest, but through simple technological superiority. They'll advance beyond our ability to comprehend, let alone compete with. The council chamber fell silent as the assembled representatives contemplated a galaxy dominated by a species they dismissed as primitive just 1 year ago. The debate that followed lasted for hours, but the conclusions were inevitable. Traditional military action was impossible. Humanity's rapid advancement meant any fleet sent against them would face weapons and tactics that didn't exist when the fleet departed. Economic warfare was pointless against a species that could outproduce the entire council. Diplomatic pressure meant nothing to a civilization that had chosen absolute independence. Finally, High Arbiter Veltar called for final recommendations. The chair recognizes ancient keeper Morthal. The old being's voice carried across the chamber with quiet authority. The precursor archives contain one final piece of guidance regarding such species. When you encounter exponentially adapting civilizations, you have only one viable option: peaceful coexistence based on mutual respect. You're suggesting we negotiate with them? Admiral Quindar's mechanical voice carried disbelief. I'm suggesting we survive them. The humans didn't ask for this conflict. We initiated hostilities based on arrogance and assumption. They responded by becoming something we never anticipated. Our choices now are simple: make peace or face extinction. Extinction. Admiral, the humans have developed quantum disruption weapons in 1 year of warfare. What do you think they'll develop in 10 years? 100 years? How long before they create technology that makes our entire civilization obsolete? The question hung in the air like a death sentence. Every representative understood the mathematics. If humanity continued advancing at their current rate, they would surpass galactic civilization completely within decades. What kind of peace? Asked the Vorthack representative. Complete withdrawal from human space. No interference with their expansion. No restrictions on their development. And Morthal paused, accessing the deepest archives, active cooperation when they request it. Cooperation? Several voices spoke simultaneously. The alternative, Morthal said with finality, is a galaxy where humanity views us as obstacles to be removed. The vote was unanimous. For the first time in galactic history, the Council voted to formally recognize a primitive species as an independent power and withdraw all territorial claims from their sphere of influence. 2 months later, the first official diplomatic mission from Earth arrived at the Galactic Council headquarters. The ship that emerged from hyperspace was unlike anything in Council records: sleek, powerful, and radiating energy signatures that made the most advanced galactic vessels seem outdated. Ambassador Elena Vasquez, formerly Dr. Vasquez of the Quantum Weapons Project, materialized in the council chamber through a transportation technology the galaxy had never seen. She was accompanied by 2 advisors and a small device that scanned the chamber with casual efficiency. Honorable council members, she began in perfect galactic standard, I bring greetings from the United Humanity Congress and an offer of mutual cooperation. High Arbiter Veltar, struggling to maintain diplomatic composure while facing a species that had terrified the galaxy, replied formally. Ambassador Vasquez, the Council recognizes Earth's sovereignty and welcomes diplomatic relations. Excellent, Vasquez smiled, an expression that somehow managed to be both friendly and predatory. Humanity is prepared to offer advanced technology sharing, joint research initiatives, and mutual defense agreements to any civilization interested in peaceful cooperation. And for those not interested in cooperation, Ambassador Zethkar asked carefully. Vasquez's smile never wavered. Complete non-interference. Humanity has no interest in conquering or controlling other species. We're too busy exploring, learning, and building. Building what? The future, she replied simply. We've learned a lot about ourselves during this conflict. We've discovered that we're very good at solving problems, especially when those problems seem impossible. The galaxy is full of impossible problems that need solving. Ancient Keeper Morthal spoke from his chamber, and if you encounter resistance to your problem-solving, for the first time, Vasquez's expression grew serious. Keeper, we learned something important during our war with the Council fleets. We learned that we're much more dangerous when people try to stop us than when they work with us. We prefer to work with everyone. The implication was crystal clear. Humanity would advance whether the galaxy cooperated or not. But cooperation would be more pleasant for everyone involved. The Council, Veltar said carefully, is prepared to establish full diplomatic relations and discuss technology sharing agreements. Wonderful, Vasquez replied. I should mention that we've made some interesting discoveries in the 17 systems we've colonized. We found ruins, very old ruins. We think some council members might find them fascinating. Morthal's ancient eyes widened. Precursor ruins? Among others. It seems the galaxy has a much more complex history than current records suggest. We'd be happy to share our archaeological findings with interested parties. The offer was simultaneously generous and unsettling. Humanity was casually offering to share discoveries that could revolutionize galactic understanding of their own history. It was another reminder of how quickly human expansion was revealing secrets the galaxy had never suspected. As the formal negotiations concluded, Morthal requested a private audience with the human ambassador. When the chamber had cleared except for the 2 of them, the ancient being asked the question that haunted his thoughts. Ambassador, what are humanity's long-term intentions? Vasquez considered the question seriously. Honestly, we don't know yet. A year ago, we were a single-planet species focused on our own problems. Now we're expanding across the galaxy and discovering that the universe is full of wonders we never imagined. We're making it up as we go along. That's what frightens other species. Understand. But, Keeper, consider this. We could have responded to your invasion with hatred and revenge. We could have developed weapons specifically to destroy galactic civilization. Instead, we're here offering friendship and cooperation. Doesn't that suggest something positive about our intentions? Morthal studied the young human ambassador with ancient eyes. Perhaps, but you should understand, your species has fundamentally altered the balance of galactic power in less than 2 years. That kind of change frightens civilizations that have existed for millions of years. Change is scary, Vasquez agreed. But stagnation is worse. The galaxy has been essentially unchanging for millennia. Maybe it's time for something new. And if other species can't keep up with human advancement, then we'll help them. Keeper, we learned something important about ourselves during this conflict. We're not just good at building weapons or winning wars. We're good at lifting each other up. Every human success becomes available to all humans. Why wouldn't we extend that principle to our galactic neighbors? As Ambassador Vasquez departed in her impossible ship, ancient Keeper Morthal reflected on the conversation. The humans had indeed become something unprecedented, a species that grew stronger through conflict but chose cooperation when possible. The precursor warnings had been accurate. Humanity was dangerous when angered, but they had also proven to be something the precursors perhaps hadn't anticipated. They were generous when befriended. A year later, the first joint human galactic research station began operations around a star system where precursor ruins promised to unlock secrets millions of years old. The station was staffed by researchers from 12 different species, working together on projects that would have been impossible for any single civilization. Admiral Sarah Chun, now serving as humanity's military liaison to the galactic community, stood in the station's observation deck watching ships from across the galaxy dock at the facility. Human vessels worked alongside alien craft, their crews cooperating on projects that pushed the boundaries of known science. Admiral, her aide reported, the Council's archaeology team has made another discovery in the precursor ruins. They're requesting human quantum analysis equipment. Grant the request, Chen replied, and offer additional technical support if needed. The aide nodded and departed, leaving Chen alone with her thoughts. 1 year ago, she'd been fighting for humanity's survival against impossible odds. Now, she was coordinating humanity's contributions to galactic civilization. The transformation had been remarkable, but not entirely surprising. Humans had always been adaptable. They'd simply adapted to becoming a galactic power. Her contemplation was interrupted by an urgent communication from Earth. Admiral, General Hayes' voice carried across the void. We've detected something at the edge of our expansion zone. Long-range sensors show artificial structures in uninhabited systems. Very old structures. We think we've found something the galaxy doesn't know about. How old? Older than the precursor ruins. Much older. And, Admiral, they're still active. Chun felt a familiar sensation, the mixture of excitement and apprehension that came with discovering the impossible. Humanity had spent the past year learning that the galaxy was full of surprises. Apparently, there were more surprises waiting. Prepare a joint expedition, she ordered. Human ships, but invite council representatives. Whatever we find, we share. Understood, Admiral. As the communication ended, Chun smiled. Whatever lay ahead, humanity would face it the same way they'd faced everything else, with determination, adaptability, and